Hi, this is Austin Gilliam, and you're listening to the Texas Toast Podcast.
Best, so let's go.
Cheers, everyone, and welcome to the Texas Toast Podcast with Miss Helen. And I'm so happy and excited to invite, we already invited. You're here, Austin Gilliam. Hello, and welcome to the Texas Toast Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's such a joy to have you, and I can't wait to dig in and talk about your background and how your music has evolved. And you are no stranger to the music scene. You are a seasoned veteran and musician in the Texas country music scene, but you are originally from Kingsville.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where you got your start. You come from a musical family.
Yes, ma'am. It just there was a guitar lying around. That was my mom's, and one day I was like, I'm gonna try to figure out how to play it. And I think it was like almost 9 years old, and so I felt like Richie Valens because I was taking it to school with me and trying to play it, and it just wasn't working. But it didn't matter. I had the drive to do it, and I stuck with it. So.
Yeah. And then so as you progressed and got older, you did play even in your teen years, like in the Kingsville, Corpus Christi area.
Yes, ma'am. Played in a sporadic few different bands at a young age, and then took a little hiatus from that before I got serious about it in my early 20s and joined the first band of my professional career, as I like to call it. So.
And what was the first band?
This band called the Scott Wiggins Band out of Corpus Christi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And shortly after I joined, we moved up here to New Braunfels in 2006, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. And that's what I really wanted to talk about, because it seems like as I was, getting prepped and looking at different things that was sent over to me, it seems like you really, really submerged yourself when you got to New Braunfels in the music area and studying some of your musical heroes.
Yes, ma'am. I kind of broke away from the metal scene that I was trying to really get knee deep into in my late teens and early 20s, and went the country route, but I didn't really find out about Americana until I moved up to New Braunfels. I didn't really like delve into it, and I was like, oh wow, I can still write songs and be a guitar player and be a singer, and there's not a lot of rules up here. As a matter of fact, they prefer people taking their own initiative, and they prefer people to kind of push the limits a little bit. So that was really cool.
And so who were some of your musical heroes that you studied and that kind of like inspired you along your musical venture here?
As far as guitar players go, Randy Rhoads, Slash, Zach Wild were big influences early on. And then to move into the songwriter realm of things, Jason Isbell was a huge influence there for a while, both guitar and songwriting. But I think he's a huge influence to a lot of us these days that know who he is. I got really big into Ryan Adams for a while, and then a huge Oasis fan. I'm still a huge Oasis fan, but as far as songwriting goes, Noel Gallagher was the one that I wanted to emulate as much as possible. And now these days I just kind of bounce around, and if there's a song I hear on a soundtrack or something like that, I try to look it up and hear what it's about, and find out who the artist is, and maybe dig a little bit deeper into their catalog, but nothing like the rabbit holes I used to get into, just because there's not a lot of time for it. I'm trying to write music on my own as well, so I need to make sure that I provide time for that.
Yes. And we're going to talk about your new album and your music, because your songwriting and your music is absolutely fabulous. But you also had a career as a sideman. You were with Brandon Jenkins, Drew Kennedy, Matt King, all prestigious musicians. So What did you learn from those days that you're bringing into like maybe do's and don'ts as you go into the solo career that you're in now?
I try not to be arrogant anymore because I did see arrogance in those in some of those acts. I'm not gonna say which ones, but it definitely was something that I didn't want to be on the road with, and so I try to keep that side of me from peering its ugly head, and I try not to make everybody else around me uncomfortable with it. Basically, is what's going on with that.
Yeah. You seem like you're pretty chill, easygoing.
I'm these days. I'm trying to be that way just because I don't see a need of getting worked up, and if I let myself get worked up about one thing, I'm going to get worked up about everything. So it's just something that I try to rein in and kind of keep on an even keel.
Right. Okay. So back in 2012, you did had an EP that came out, Sunshine, and you had a successful radio single, Strawberry Lemonade, which I absolutely think is a little jewel.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's become like my flagship song even to this
Hmm.
day. Um, and it's been a lot of fun playing it over the years. They say don't play a song live if you're not prepared to play it for the rest of your life. And a lot of people ask if I ever get tired of playing it, and I'm like, no, because there's nothing gimmicky about it, and it's still just a fun song to play and a fun song to sing. So
So you had that gap in between now and the new album that's coming out. I'm sorry, I'm fine on May 26th. And I know that that album, you maybe sat on it for a while, you had the songs ready. Tell me about the background of getting this album together.
once I finally had the record mixed and mastered and ready to go, it was a situation of now I've got a record. What do I do with it? And I was in a position of, well, I have the money to record the record, but as far as you know, promoting the record or getting it some publicity or something like, and putting it out and investing all the money in it to do that, I was still trying to find my way on how to raise the money to get a campaign started, and I didn't want to do a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or anything like that because I have trouble asking people for money,
Mhm.
and so I just didn't want to go that route. And now I'm in a position where I have built capital on my own so that I can do this with my own money that I've accrued over the past few years. And I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm in anybody's pocket about it,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I also don't feel like I let anybody down because, I didn't meet certain deadlines with the project to get it to the people's hands or anything like that. So that's just kind of where I was in the sense of waiting to find out how to do it the right way. And of course, 2020 slowed everybody down.
True.
So it was, that just added to the time frame. Um, Now I just feel like I've got my ducks in a row a lot better than I did a few years back. So yeah,
Sure. Sure.
that's
Takes off
about it.
it's yeah. I like how you explain that because that just takes some pressure off of you.
Absolutely. Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
All right. So where did you record the album, produce production, kind of the background on that?
It was all done at Fast Horse Studios in Austin, Texas. And it used to be at a house just in a neighborhood. And a guy named David Marshall re reworked his garage to be a home studio. And David Beck engineered and produced it. And he had been working with David Marshall and every amalgamation of Fast Horse Studios, all from the first house that they had down in Kyle, and then the location I recorded at. And now David has since moved into a commercial location in North Austin, and I was um, I had wanted to work with David Beck because he had just come out of a band called Sons of Fathers. But prior to this, a long time ago, you mentioned Matt King. Well, me and David were in Matt King and the Cutters together. I was the lead guitar player and he was the bass player. And I'd always had an admiration for David's music, his songwriting, and the way he went about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to grasp a little bit of that on the record at the time. And so he had Dee Stribling come in and play drums on the whole record. That's who he prefers to use, and I was on board with going along with that. I didn't have a steady band at the time anyway, so that was really cool that Dees was able to come in and work really fast with the tunes, and I feel like a lot of magic happened whenever we got together, and we all just started jamming together. Of course, everybody says, I feel like a lot of magic happened. I feel very cliche about saying that, but it's just true, I guess, for everybody. It's a good feeling whenever you put something together that you're really proud of.
Mhm. And it's just your sound and every single cut that's on this album, like each one gives me like a different feeling. Like this particular album, when I listen to it, it's like I just want to get in my vehicle and just drive and just listen to it. And so A Little Dirt, you've currently dropped that to streaming.
It's not well, it's on its way to streaming right now.
Okay. Okay.
That's a whole set of problems on its own that I run into. It's available on Bandcamp though. So I
Okay.
guess in a way it is available for streaming, just not on all the platforms just yet.
Right.
Um, but it will be available no later than May 26th because that's when the
The
album
album.
itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I really like that one. Tell me about A Little Dirt and your inspiration for writing it and putting it on the album.
I had the chorus to begin with, and I was heading out to Nashville for a few days back in I think 2016, something like that. And I was trying to set up some co-writes and trying to set up any sort of meetings that I could take. And William Clark Green actually set me up on a co-write with Ross Cooper, and we bounced around some ideas. And I showed him the chorus that I had, and he said, "Let's work on that because I like where that's going." And he started going through his notebook, and he found a lot of phrases to kind of help fill in the gaps as far as which were the verses and stuff. And he's like, I like this one, ragged old shoe, but I'll always stay tied. And he's like, I think that fits really well. And then he's like, I'm not the flashiest of feathers, but I'm one of a kind. And so we kind of went from there as far as beginning with the co-write, and then we just pieced it together over the course of about an hour and a half. And we did a quick voice memo of it. I came back to Texas with it and played around with it for a while before actually going to the studio with it and recording it. And then David kind of cut the fat off of it in the studio, and there you have A Little Dirt. I was a big fan of it because I've always been a big fan of Ross Cooper's writing, and it was really cool to work with him and have something that's like I get to say like flashiest of feathers, but baby, I'm not one of a kind. You're one of my. I always give him credit. I'm not like trying to not take credit for it, but it's like, yeah, I wrote a song with Ross Cooper. What's up? It's a lot of fun.
I
So,
love it. I love it. That's awesome. And then another one I have made a note of is the Running So Fast song.
oh yeah, that one is it's a love song of sorts, but it's not a love song
Mhm.
in the traditional sense of I'm professing my love to this girl. she had just gone through a breakup, and she's a friend of mine. And when I heard about her breakup and she wasn't doing so hot or something like that, I was like, no, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. Like, don't let this get you down, and don't forget that I'm here, and you can talk to me. It's okay. And and we had been friends for a while prior to that, and we're still friends to this day. But I will not name her to protect the innocent.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, one that gets you like right here is I'm sorry. Whoa,
That one,
that one.
yeah, that one is the traditional love song. Yes, I wrote it about a girl that I was trying to date, but she seemed to be like she only wanted to date me if I was dating somebody else. And then when I wasn't dating someone, she just didn't want to try for
Oh
it. So it
no.
was kind of like a thrill of a hunt kind of thing. And it was very early on in that situation before I found out what was really happening. So I just kind of, I kept the song around because I'm very proud of it, and I think
Mhm.
I like singing it as well, and I feel like I wrote a solid love song. Well, now an anti-love song, if you will, whatever, but um, yeah, that one definitely is a lot of fun to play live and a lot of fun to sing, and I'm really happy that we put it on the record. So
Yes, it's a good one. And then another one I want to mention is I'm Fine because I'm trying to tie in your title to your album there. But tell me about I'm Fine also.
that was a long time ago. I have um, a couple songs on Sunshine, Strawberry Lemonade, which you mentioned earlier. Then there's a song on it called Convenient,
Mhm.
and those two were like the beginning part of what evolved into supposed to be a three-part kind of series about a love situation that I was wanting to happen, but it didn't happen. And so when it was finally said and done that it wasn't going to happen, it all come to a head. I wrote "I'm Fine," and I was like, all right, I'm just going to complete the chapter of my life and put it aside. But it wasn't written yet until after I had released Sunshine, so I couldn't include it on the album if it wasn't written, obviously. So that's the story behind that one. And um I was just going for like I wasn't going for it. It just kind of came out like almost like happy but melancholy at the same time, kind of, you know. And so here we are with that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm fine. Name of the album. Is that
Yes,
kind of
man.
the combination to tie everything in with those two and what the story you just shared?
Not necessarily that story in particular. It's kind of I've never heard of I've heard of plenty of acts naming the record after one of their songs,
True.
but I've never really heard anybody naming it after two of their songs, let
Mhm.
alone turning it into an actual phrase. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And also, it's kind of a way of sticking it to people that want to see me fail, or want me to be hurt, or want me to be down just so they can feel better about themselves. It's kind of like, I'm sorry, I'm fine. It's just kind of, yeah, it's a double entendre, if you will, or yeah, innuendo kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
So
So yeah, you are fine. You're doing great. The album's great. It's coming out May 26th. So tell me about getting your show together and your band and doing the shows that you're doing now.
I have Clay Rylander on drums with me, as well as Tony Valdez, who plays bass and harmony vocals. We're a power trio, and the name of it is Austin Gilliam and the Well-Fed Texans. And one of the things that I brought from all of my previous bands, and something that I want to touch on again that you brought up, I learned how to be on the road as a sideman, and I learned how to not treat band members as a frontman. And so I definitely keep that in mind every time we go on the road. And we just went on a really cool run to Nashville back in February, and we played Dixon, Murfreesboro, and a couple in Nashville proper. We're bouncing around Texas now, and until I can get us another run, I think we're going to the Midwest in summertime. I'd have to check my calendar. And as far as the stage setup, like I said, we're a power trio, and we just go into every show like we're gonna have fun. We're gonna play some rock and roll, and we're not gonna leave anything on the stage for anybody to question.
Mhm.
And I like that about playing with Tony and Clay, because we're all three in the mentality of we're going to make this a good show, and we're going to make everybody have fun. And inevitably they do. And that's a good thing. So the day that people stop having fun is the day that I need to reconsider how I am setting up my shows.
That's right.
But so far, everything's going good. And
Awesome.
I couldn't be happier with Clay and Tony.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to all your success and the album coming out May 26th. And where can everyone find you on your social media, website, etc.?
My website is austingillammusic.com. My Instagram is Austin Gilliam Music. My Facebook is Austin Gilliam. I do have a SoundCloud page, but it's only got Sunshine on it right now. I'm Sorry, I'm Fine is not live on it yet. Where else? Oh, look for me on Bands in Town as well. If you don't feel the need to dig into the website or anything, I completely understand. If you just want to see where I'm playing, my Bands in Town is Austin Gilliam. And I try to keep everything as straightforward as possible if I can. That way you can find me anywhere you want,
And of course, the spelling is Gilliam, in case everybody needs to know how to spell Gilliam.
Absolutely. And I have a buddy named Tom Gilliam that we always get asked if we're related, and we're not, but he's a great buddy of mine. And I think at one point in time he had spelt his name Gilliam as well. And he got tired of people misspelling his name as well as mispronouncing it. So he just dropped that second I to Gillam. And I've thought about doing that. And I was like, that's just going to open up a whole nother can of worms problem for me and Tom if I go with the same spelling as him. It's really going to confuse people. So, yeah.
Awesome. So when you're not doing music, is there any particular hobbies or anything you like to do outside of music?
I play chess.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've been playing for quite a number of years now, and it's very calming to me. Also, I like going out and trying new food and new beer
Oh,
and
nice.
stuff like that. So if there's opportunities for me to do that kind of stuff on the road, and it's normally on the road when I do it. Just because around here, I've found a lot of this. I've found a lot of the places that are already here because I've been here for so long. So I've tried all the breweries and
Hmm.
the newer restaurants and all that stuff. So it's really whenever I go out on the road is when I get a chance to kind of try and decide if I like something or not, depending. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, nothing too outlandish or too like, whoa, that guy sets himself apart from everybody. Not really. I'm just kind of plain old fashioned guy. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. We could definitely hang out and go test some craft beer. I love to
I'm
do
with
that too. I love it.
you. That's good stuff. I love finding new breweries. I especially like finding breweries that'll do like a good red ale or an amber lager or something along those lines, like the in between. I'm not a big IPA guy, and I don't want something that's just too light either. I want something that's just got a little bit of heft to it, and not something you can necessarily chew on or something that'll stick to your ribs, but Something that lets you know that you're actually drinking beer.
While we're on the subject of drinking, I have one last question that we ask on the Texas Toast podcast before I let you go. If you were a cocktail, what would you be?
If I were a cocktail, can I be, instead of a cocktail, can I be a beer shot
You
combo?
sure can. Absolutely.
I would be a Shiner Bock with a shot of Jameson.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Austin Gilliam, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and we look forward to all the great things coming up for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Austin.